back to another beautiful episode of LR Talks. My name is Ajijola Olua Adeni. You can call me Jade, and I am happy to be your host on the show today. So today we're going to be considering a very important topic, and that topic is building your personal brand, owning your own digital spotlight. And with me in the studio today is my guest who will be taking us through the topic. He consults for local companies, non-profits, governments on matters related to finance, sales, marketing, culture creation, and very importantly, the reason we're here, branding. My guest today is Mr. Abayomi Perez.
Hi, Judge.
Hello, sir. How are you doing?
I'm very well. Happy to be here.
Please tell us a little about...
Thank you for having me around.
Yeah, we're happy to have you.
That's one question that's very difficult to answer. I don't know if you have noticed, when they ask you to introduce yourself, everything you seem to know about yourself blanks out. But this is how I've learned to come to describe myself, that I am an unfolding story of Jesus' grace. You find me at the nexus of everything that has to do with marketing, branding, sales, culture creation, funding and startup support. I live my life in decades, yeah. And for this decade, what I'm interested in doing would be to unlock the entrepreneurial potential of underserved communities like Ogbomoso. So I want to look at the people who are building and find ways to support them to build, get them to create real value that solves real problem, creates jobs, and just grows the economy and improve standard of living. That should be my focus for this decade. I do most of this today within the context of Innovate Lab, which is where I've been working for the last 6 years and counting. It's been beautiful so far.
We're very happy to have you in the studio with us.
Thank you.
So very quickly, I'd like us to get into it and continuing from where you stopped. I'd like you to, describe your personal brand to us.
Yeah, so I would say that my personal brand is still evolving. Yeah.
Okay.
And even this morning, I had to take up a pen and a paper and still write and try to answer the question of who am I and how do I want people to see me?
Okay.
Yeah. Because branding starts from your identity, who you are, and how you want people to perceive you. Yeah. Up until today, the name Abayomi Perez, or AP as I'm called, is synonymous to wisdom and business. Yeah. So a lot of people may not know that, this is exactly what I do. But when they try to figure out how can this person help us, they know that, if you need clarity, if you need wisdom, if you just need someone to talk to figure out whatever it is that you're trying to build and it's a big vision, then AP is the person to speak to. And then whenever people are wanting to do anything, pioneer anything business related, they know that AP is the person to speak to. So my personal brand today has to do largely with wisdom, how you can leverage wisdom to solve problems, provide clarity, provide strategy for getting things done, and business, end-to-end services that you have to do that comes in within the context of business. And this has happened largely in the way I've showed up over time, yeah? So because I have consistently showed up talking about these things, whenever I share about things that is important to people's life, yeah? And people read the things that I write there and they get clarity. They feel inspired to do the things that they need to do. So people have come to associate with wisdom. And then because I speak a lot about business, I speak a lot about nation building. And people just, maybe somebody sees something about nation building, it's like, I think to send this to you because you need it. So my brand has largely been formed by how I showed up. That gave people a grid for how to perceive me. You see that, yeah? But how I showed up was influenced by my perception of my identity, who I am as a person, and the things that I've been called to do as a person, yeah?
Thank you very much for that. We're still going to come back to, the place of consistency and all of that. But you're not, one thing I noticed from everything you've said is you're not trying to carbon copy anybody. You're living your own story. You're building your brand by yourself. I mean, you're enjoying every step of the way.
Yeah.
And I think I need you to do two things for us now. First, debunk the mentality that, you know, personal brand is for professionals, influencers, celebrities, and all of those people. You know, there are people out there who have a lot inside of them, a lot that they could be doing right now, and they just feel like there's no point owning a personal brand. I need our viewers at home to understand that it goes beyond just, you know, taking professional pictures and posting on the internet. The authenticity attached to, you know, your personal brand and the story, you know, following through the process, enjoying the process and all of that. So I just want you to talk on those two aspects. First aspect is the part of the fact that there is a certain stereotype that personal branding is meant for a certain set of people, and the place of authenticity and storytelling, you know, the process in the place of building your personal brand.
Yeah. Thank you, Jade. So there's a saying that I have. Yeah, it's a slang. You know how they say that the beautiful ones are yet to be born.
Yes.
Yeah? Truth is, the beautiful ones are yet unknown. What that means is that regardless of who you see and celebrate today, there is someone who is probably 10x better than that person, but just that that person doesn't have the spotlight on themselves. Yeah. I think because there are two extremes of branding. Yeah. There is the part where people just want the spotlight. Yeah, and that's a story for another day, because I view visibility as a necessary burden. Yeah. The spotlight is not necessarily a privilege, it's a burden, because, you know, I could leave my house and walk down here. Imagine that 1 million people knew you, and then you can't even walk freely on the street again. The day you make a mistake, the whole world wants
talking about it,
crucify you and all of that. So I still enjoy the privilege of a quiet life. Yeah. So there's one extreme that people like the glamour of a light under the spotlight, and they are chasing after that as an end in itself. Yeah. And that is like just seeking things that don't have substance. Yeah. So that's one extreme. There's another extreme where people have so much value to offer, but they are not putting that value out there to connect for people that need that value to be able to connect to it. You see that, yeah? But branding really starts from the place of having value in yourself, genuinely wanting to reach out to something of yourself to people, and then putting in the hard work to get that thing from you to the people. That is, you want to talk about it. You want to make sure that everybody knows about it. And that's the balance. So for everybody who has value, and the truth of the matter, and this will now lead me to what I was going to say, everybody, and this is not motivational talk, everybody that God has created has been created to be an original.
Yes.
Yeah. Everybody that God has created has been created to be unique and different and to be a masterpiece.
Absolutely.
And even our biological makeup helps us realize that. So every human being has unique eye print. We have unique fingerprints.
Yes.
We have unique voice signatures. That's why these things can be used as biometrics. So that means we're unique. Yeah. And so because we're unique, we all have something to give to the world. You see that, right? Now, branding is all that you do to get out that value and help people who need that value to see it, to be able to reach out for it, and to be able to receive it. That is what branding is all about. So in that case, everybody has to do a brand, but it's just that the system and the framework within which you do your brand may be different. Yeah, for some people, see, the biggest guys in this world, yeah, they are not in the spotlight. Kunle Sorion will say that there are three faces of power. Yeah, there are the people who are the poster boys of power. There are the people behind the poster boys of power. Those who are not in the spotlight. And the people who are controlled by power. Yeah. So personal brand doesn't always have to be in the spotlight. There are people who just know people who can move things. And what they have done is that by a virtue of how they live, their value systems, you see that they have shaped a particular, for example, I spoke to you about two things that have to do with my personal brand, wisdom and business.
Yes.
A third one that I'm wanting to build is high-stake execution. Such that when you're looking for someone who can get something done in a situation where you cannot afford to fail and the stakes are too high, and the person that you call, that's the next kind of brand. And I'm gonna build that brand first by beginning to execute projects that are high stake, by showing up when it matters the most. Yeah. So piggyback, you have originals. Everybody has something to give, and that is why you should be willing to put out a personal grace, a personal brand. So branding is in the vehicle that helps you get your value to the people that need it. And let me say this last thing and take a pause here. Everybody is an original, but realize that what your life is about is not 100% new. There are thousands of other people who have showed up like you before, who there are a lot of similarities between your life and their lives.
Yes.
So what I do is that I create what I call a life mood board.
Okay.
And what I do is that on my life mood board, I identify people whose life today looks like what a particular part of my life wants to look like.
Okay.
You see that, right? So when I think about, for example, because I'm a preacher, yeah. So when I think about my life as a preacher of the gospel, there's somebody that I have whose life today mirrors exactly what I want my life to look like in that regard. When I think about my life as a family man, there's someone who I know today whose life looks like. So I just have different people, and those people constitute my mood board. So I may not be 100% copying and pasting everybody, but there will be specific things about those people that I'm copying and pasting. So at the end of the day, what I've come up with is a unique mix that is specific to me. Yeah. That was a lot.
Thank you very much for that. And moving forward, I would like to ask, in building your personal brand, what digital platforms have been, useful for you? What digital platforms have you used in building your personal brand that, you'd advise other people who would like to build their personal brands, who are in the process of building their personal brands to, make use of, to gain the visibility they want and to make the impact that they would like to make?
Okay. Well, my digital platform of expression may not be the recommended because I'm a WhatsApp person. And I've actually been trying to migrate out of WhatsApp, but WhatsApp is the platform that does it for me. And that's just because it makes microblogging very easy. So I can be on the road now and just pick up my phone and go on my status, and I've just put down like 2 or 3 thoughts. But I'm trying to get out of WhatsApp to explore other platforms today. However, if I was going to answer that question for other people, I think that you should put 30 things into consideration. You have to put number 1, the people. What kind of people are you wanting to reach? Yeah.
Okay.
So there are a lot of millennials, for example, who have, and even the generation before millennials, who have built strong brands that resonated people in their generation, but they are wanting to these days reach out to more Gen Zs and more Gen Alpha.
Yes.
And they are having to migrate from traditional Instagram and Twitter and migrate to TikTok and Snapchat, because that's where that generation is. So you have to be particular about who are the people that you want to reach and where they are. That's the first thing you have to consider when I'm trying to choose a platform you should use.
Okay.
And number 2 thing you have to consider is, what is the language of that platform? Yeah. For example, writing and reading will never die. Yeah. But as at today, if you are looking for reach, then you need to be ready to sit behind a camera and do a video. Yeah. So I think, and then you would also have to leave your comfort zone, because there are a lot of people who may not be comfortable. For example, I've never danced on TikTok, and I'm not sure I'm going to be doing that anytime soon. Yeah, because it's not just my person. Yeah. But then purpose and calling is what makes us leave our comfort zone. If reaching the people I've been called to reach and getting my value to them will necessitate me dancing in front of a TikTok video, then so be it. So you have to, like, there'll be times where you have to rebel against your comfort zone in order to show up. So two things. Number one, figure out who you're trying to reach, where are they located today. That's the platform that you should pick. Yeah. And number two, understand the language of that platform and learn to speak it fluently. For some people, it's going to be Instagram Reels. For some people, it's going to be written content. Just recognize the language of that platform and learn to speak it fluently.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that. Now, going back to the matter of consistency you spoke about, what practical steps have you taken? Because, I mean, some people try. That's the truth. I think I even have a personal experience of being very consistent at some point. And then at some point, I just, I don't think this is for me. And then when it was time to come back, like show up again, to build from scratch was really difficult, even though I had to do it either ways. So what practical steps have you taken in your personal brand that has made you consistent, that has made people see you, that has made what you do engaging, that, you know, people would think about you when they want to get certain things done, when they're talking matters of, you know, strategy, when they're talking matters of financing, sales, marketing, they can reach out to you. What are the practical steps you have taken to, you know, consistently show up? Because it takes a lot to show up. It takes a lot to show up. So what has your personal experience been in the place of showing up and being consistent?
Okay. So, like I said, to the other question you asked me, that what I do today may not be 100% the recommendation, yeah?
Yeah.
But I'll share with you what I do today. I'll share with you what I've seen other people do. And then I'll tie the knot there. But before I do that, I heard my boss say something. And he said, if I'm not on Facebook for the next 5 years, or if I'm not online for the next 5 years, I'm not going to go out of relevance. I said that to say that dissociate the relevance of your brand from social media. That's the first thing. And I said that to say that you have to recognize that a brand starts from just being valuable. Yeah? From just being valuable. That's it. When you are valuable, value will come to you. Yeah? Especially when you start from your circle of influence. Yeah? So that's on one hand. Yeah?
Yes.
Because some people fear that, oh, if I stop posting today, I may go out of relevance. If you stop posting and you go out of relevance, that may be because you never had any value outside of social media. Because guess what? If you have a life out of social media, I largely don't post about my life out there. Yeah. But today I've done like several things already today. And I was thinking to myself in my mind, I'm like, shouldn't I start putting these things out there? And so I may walk out of this room, for example, and never even mention that I was at Lexi. Yeah. But somehow you've been here and you felt my presence and you felt my impact.
Yes.
That is branding. Yeah. And what happens is that you are able to speak to someone and speak to someone and speak to someone. You get the picture.
Yes.
But we can scale that to social media. But I'm saying this to say that, don't get to a place where you feel like if you take social media out of the picture, your impact has been taken away. If that happens, it means that that person didn't have value in themselves. Branding starts from having value in yourself and ministering that value to, first of all, the people around you. The people around you will take the news of that value
to other people.
Remember that people had brands before the advent of social media.
Yeah.
And people's fame spread across before the advent of social media. You see that here. If you observe, I like to observe organic brands, and many times we look at preachers, people like Apostle Joseph Sermon. That's a phenomenon. I visited his church in Zaria. When I visited his church in Zaria, the road to the church didn't have an address. So you had to say, if you follow here, you follow here, you follow here, you follow here, that's how you get there. Yeah. And the building that they used to use when I went there was an uncompleted building. Yeah. But what happened was that he focused on just providing value and then providing value for free, because then people used to buy messages, but his was audio. I didn't even have a face, it was just audio. And then it spread like wildfire. You saw that, yeah?
Yes.
And so there is that part of things. Now, coming to what I do as an individual, I just write. I write a lot and I speak a lot. Or let me say it this way. I write a lot, and because I write a lot, I get the opportunities to speak a lot.
Okay.
You see that. And because what we're talking about is consistency.
Yes.
A large part of my writing is that I follow the wave of inspiration. So as soon as I have a bolt of inspiration, I sit down and write. And truth of the matter is that my inspiration is many times triggered as I read. So this is it for me. And when you study Atomic Habits, have you studied that book?
Yes.
You will see this. You have to have a trigger, and your trigger triggers a habit.
Yes.
So if my trigger is when I read, many times when I study my Bible, when I read a book, or I'm reading a book, or when I pray, especially when I pray in tongues, inspiration flows. Or when I'm just in a place and I'm observing things, inspiration flows. And as soon as that inspiration breaks out, I pen down immediately and put it out there. Okay. That's how it works for me. Yeah. But coming into this year, I stopped that, because what had happened was that even though I was consistent in showing up, as soon as a bolt of inspiration strikes, I pause everything and focus on that. But what could happen is that I could have a plan for the day, and then the plan
disrupts the whole thing.
You get the picture. So I had to stop that, and I'm going to get to a time when I'm going to be able to plan for inspiration. You see that, yeah? But what I do at this time is I try to do a lot of speaking engagement, and I just have that backlog of videos. And for me, the next plan right now is getting a video editor that will like edit those things into reels and just get to show me that manager to put it out there. So I may just keep showing up, speaking. I have like engagement that I speak on quarterly and all of that. So that's on one hand, yeah. Now, what I've seen other people also do is I have a friend, Temi Dio, Dio, and what Dio does is to show up seasonally. So in a 1 year calendar period, Dio can just show up for 3 months, and for 3 months she's showing up back to back, back to back, back to back, back to back, and she just goes under the radar for 9 months. Yeah. But what has happened is that because she does it in that window of, let's say, quarterly, yeah, 1 quarter in a year, what happens is that if you go, for example, on an Instagram page, there is track record.
Yes.
You can see what this person has been all about all through time. Yeah. That's on that way you can craft your what do they call it? Your consistency. The goal is not to idolize consistency, because the more you idolize consistency, it becomes like a god that you cannot conquer. You have to realize that the goal of consistency is to get the job done. So I believe that when you are consistent in your push to be consistent, that is a valid kind of consistency.
Okay.
You see that, yeah? So the principle of consistency is, if I need to get something done, I need to create a plan that allows me to show up to get that thing done. So I'll give you an example. I started something with a friend to read the Bible in 60 days.
Okay.
Sorry, to read the New Testament in 60 days. And I did day 1 and day 2. Day 3, I couldn't do it. Yesterday was day 4. So tired, I couldn't do it. But I don't feel less, because for me, the goal is to read the New Testament.
Yes.
The goal is not to have a badge and say, I didn't miss 1 day. Yeah. So it's simply, today, we're going to get back to it. And we'll just get back to it, and life goes on. So don't idolize consistency. Consistency does not mean posting on social media every day.
Every day.
No. Consistency simply means showing up to get the job done. You see that, yeah? And you have to work with what works for you. So for me, before now, inspiration works for me. As soon as I have inspiration, I sit down, write, yeah? My friend Dio, she shows up periodically. So for 1 period, she shows up and puts things out there, and then rest, and then shows up and puts things out there and then rest. For some other person, it could really just be something. I know people that focus on just pushing out one reel per week. One of them is my big brother, Uncle Michael. Something Michael Lights. You should invite him.
Yes.
Has he been here?
Yes, he's been here.
Oh, cool.
We've had an episode with him.
Yeah. So he's just focusing on putting out one quality video, I think, once every week. That's it. I think one reel of 60 seconds, 120 seconds. Yeah. And that's also consistency. So yeah.
So consistency is not showing up every day. We don't want to see your face every day. We just want you to put out the value you want to put out, get the value to people, get the job done. So for everyone out there who thinks that your consistency is based on the fact that you're showing up every day, that may not be it. You might need to, you mentioned something about triggers, identifying your trigger, what inspires you. Because the truth is, if you decide to want to show up every day, you might burn out from not having what to say on the internet, or what to post, or what value to give out, and all of that. So I think that's a very valid point.
As a rule of thumb, I don't talk when I don't have anything to say.
Wow.
And I don't feel under pressure to comment on everything and anything that is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Don't forget, your relevance outside
social media. So your relevance is not tied to it. Thank you very much for that. But in your, in building your brand, in your journey so far, in evolving as a personal brand, what challenges have you faced? Because it's an important thing to discuss, to let people know that it is not just a bed of roses. It is not just one very smooth, bumpless journey. It has its own challenges that you have to overcome. So what challenges have you faced that you think young people who want to build their brands, who are in the process of building their brands, might face in, the journey?
Okay. I think for me, and my experience again, and that's after I touch on me, I'm going to go a bit further and just speak generically for everyone. My experience may not be a picture of everybody's reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. But for me, I think the most difficult part has been defining the brand and putting a system around how that brand will be served out there and how it will attract monetary value. And that's very important. I introspect a lot, and I've spent years trying to ask the question of who am I really? Like I told you this morning, I took my pen and I'm like, okay,
to answer the question.
Yes, I'm like, because you have to be able to drill down your essence to just like a very, very few things. Yeah. Thinking about how do I want to get my value out there, like putting a system in place. I know people say that it's not all about money, but money is also very important. Yeah. Because the goal is to also like put out your value out there and receive value back. So the hard work is going to be, how do I, and I'll be sincere that you don't get to figure this out in one day. Yeah. I mean, if I sat down to say I have to have all of this figured out, I probably wouldn't be here today. Yeah. So you act as per how you have clarity. You see that, yeah. You act as per how you have clarity. So for me, the hardest part has been defining the brand, defining how I want to project that brand, and putting a system in place to say, okay, this is going to be the system around how we reach out and do all of that. And this is how we're going to set our services to say, this is what we're going to give to people. However, speaking from an overview, realize that when you always think about yourself, your person, as a business. Yeah, and when you think about a business is, it can be split into two. Every business can be split into two major parts. Number one is generating demand.
Okay.
And number two is delivering on promises. The first part is generating demand, and the second part is delivering on promises. Generating demand is getting people aware and pay for your services. Delivering on promises means delivering excellence to them, doing everything you told them that you're going to do for them here. The branding spectrum runs across from here down to this place. And the branding spectrum has 3 categories. Number 1, there is the recognition part of the branding spectrum.
Okay.
That is where things like your brand name, things like your brand colors, things like your website, everything that has to do with when people see, for example, LR Talks has this. This is part of recognition. Yeah, that people are able to see and know that, oh, for example, where I work, Innovate Lab, when you see an Innovate Lab design, anyway, you know it's Innovate Lab design.
Yes.
And that's because we have a design system.
Yes.
So that is recognition. Yeah. After recognition, you have the next thing. So that recognition could be colors, could be, for example, when you hear tan 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 da 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 da, what comes to your mind?
Indomie.
That's brand recognition. That thing is called voice signature. Yeah. So that falls under generating demand. Yeah. Now the next one you have is visibility. The game of visibility is how many eyeballs can you get on what you're doing. You see that, yeah? And visibility is a product of distribution. Yeah. If you are posting only on Instagram, for example, you have more opportunity for people to see it if you are posting on Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, and Facebook. You get the point.
Yes.
So visibility is about how and where you distribute. You see that, right? And then the last one is delivery, because you can generate demand and tell people that, oh, you are the next good thing after fried rice, and get everybody to know about it. And then when they come to you, you deliver poorly. Yeah. So you have to be able to deliver on the promises that you made during the demand part of things. And there's something I always tell my team at work, that excellence is the best marketing strategy. But let me say it in a different way today, that excellence is the best personal branding. Because when you are excellent and people know you for that and you deliver value that is excellent, what happens is that they come back again. And they don't just come back again, they tell a lot of people about it. And guess what? Yesterday I was doing a research about something, and I've seen this video years ago. There was a logistic company that offended one guy that was an influencer. And he told them that I'm going to call you out. They didn't do anything. They didn't appease him. And the guys did a video and called them the worst logistic company in Nigeria. Yeah. And yesterday I was doing a research, and then I stumbled on that video again. My mind, I'm like, this thing is immortalized on the internet. I'm sure that guy killed their image and that company died, because I've not heard about that company again since that time. So I said that to say that you could build image, and if you don't deliver on your promises, the visibility and the brand you built up to them could now become your destruction. Ultimately, branding is about values. And one of the values that sustains branding is integrity. Being the same person inside and outside. Yeah. Knowing that you won't compromise. Let me say this last thing, and I'll just lock it up, because this could as well be one of the most difficult parts for a lot of people, delivering on your promises. Fela, I don't know if you've seen that video where Fela Droto was speaking about how somebody called him to come do a training for Nigeria. Did you see that video? Okay. And somebody called him to come do a training. And this was, I think, about 2004-ish, like a very long time ago.
Okay.
And it was a national training, and they had to do this training across the 774 of local governments in Nigeria. And he didn't charge them a dime. He just charged them for the project and all of that. And they told him, I think they told him, he gave them a bill. He said that he was going to charge a profit. He was just going to charge for execution, all the costs they're going to expend. And I think they told him that, oh, this is the bill, don't worry, add 5 billion more and send an invoice and all of that. And they told the person that, I can't do it, oh. And the man kept disturbing to do it. He had to switch his phone for 2 weeks. Yeah. Cut long story short, 3 months after then, yeah, he saw it on EFCC that so and so have been arrested for fraud, and it was exactly that thing that they wanted him to do. And he said something. He said, if he had been involved, what would have seen there is Fela and 4 others. You see that? And he said he will most likely not be sitting down here today. Now, I said that to say that perhaps if he had collected that, nobody would know about it. But what would have happened is that he would have built the grave that would eventually bury his personal brand. Bear in mind that every generation has had its own fear of popular people that we have forgotten and will never know again. So real branding is living a true and original life of value that will be transgenerational. That's
the
true
legacy
branding.
is
Legacy.
what matters.
That's what
The
matters.
legacy you're able to leave behind for every other person coming after you to know.
Definitely. Definitely. That's true branding.
Thank you very much for that. But I'd like us to go a bit more practical because, again, the journey to building your personal brand, like I said, is not one smooth, bumpless journey. So in your journey so far, have you by chance faced criticism of any kind?
Yeah. There would be, let me share this one. It's very funny. It happened a very long time ago. And this was on Facebook. These are the Facebook days. And I remember making a post and somebody came on my status and said, you have been using I too much. I remember that Satan was I that Satan said
Oh
that
my
before.
goodness
Remember that I'm
God.
like, do you get?
Yeah.
One of the things that you may face is criticism. And the antidote to that, believe me, everybody that would do something that would change the world has to lose their fear for what people will say and do, what people will think. Because guess what? Whatever you do, people will say something.
Yeah.
So how I learned, or what I learned to do, is to live with a very tough skin and live for an audience of one. Yeah. I weigh whatever I want to say by my values before I put them out. Like, I weigh it by my values. Like, I check them. I use my value as a checklist. Does this pass the test of this? For example, there are many things. I had a friend, a very wonderful friend, Molly, in Lagos. She was my classmate during my postgraduate program. Yeah. And we had this very goofy picture that we took together. And every time we want to laugh, we don't pull out that picture. And I said to her that if I put this picture on social media, yeah, the world can go upside down. Yeah. And that is really because in as much as you want to live a life that is free of people's opinion, you have to also consider how the things you say and how you show up will affect your personal brand. So it's a dicey thing. I'm not living for people's approval, but I also reckon that people's approval is key to my personal brand. So that dynamics is a very difficult one. You have to learn
Balance.
You have to learn to balance it. You see that? So you ultimately is going to make that you're not going to live a life of convenience. You're going to live a life of conviction and a life of discipline.
But what would you have to say to the people who actually deliberately come out to, say anything? I mean, the things that you would not consider as in line with your brand values, just so that they can gain
traction.
Exactly, and visibility.
We live in a world where even fools will get audience. And that's because people are gullible. Yeah. But the difference between a voice and noise is that a voice will reverberate over the ages, while noises will die down. A voice will truly add value. See, I knew the life I didn't wanted in September 2023. By September of 2023, I had honored over 50 speaking engagements. That's an average of 1 per week.
Wow.
It was a very draining process. I was not sure that was how I wanted to live. Yeah. And it also starts disturbing you after a while when your life has a lot of paparazzi and you cannot show results. Paul said, you are the proof of my apostleship. Solomon said something. He said, wisdom is known by her children.
Yeah.
That means it is result that you see to know that there is value.
Yes.
You see that, yeah? So after a while, if everybody is true to themselves, you become dissatisfied with just a life that is about paparazzi and just a life that's about the glamour of the spotlight. You become hungry for true impact and transformation. to be able to have people that are able to be able to see people whose life would have not moved from point A to point B without your input. You see that, yeah? So, and the people never get to the place where they feel that, maybe that's because they never got to the place where they allow themselves introspect and they were true to themselves.
Yeah.
But this is it. When people live for themselves, they die with themselves. When people live for others, they multiply themselves and their impact, which is far into the future. I don't know what to advise them than to say that just to thyself be true. Yeah. And show up in such a way that, and this is reality, we're going to stand before God and give account.
Yes.
Live in such a way that when you give account, you'll be glad for the way you have lived. Yeah.
That's very important. Thank you very much for that. There's this popular, saying, fake it till you make it. Now, what do you have to say to the fake it till you make it mindset people?
Yeah. So I want to touch on the good parts of that thing. Yeah. And my assumption is that the good part of that thing is that you don't have to be all there. You don't have to be there yet to start putting yourself out there. You see that, yeah? And there's a young man that has personalized that to me, and there's something that is called building in the public. You see that, yeah? For example, I remember my early years in LinkedIn, maybe 5 years-ish ago. I was laughing with my friend that those are the days we put serial entrepreneur in our bio. And today, you just think about that. I did that one time. It just makes you feel like, oh my dear Lord. And that was because there was pressure for you to say and act like you're something. You see that. But the first thing you want to do is to take that pressure off of yourself. It is enough that you're a human being. The fact that you're a human being means that you are valued, you are loved, you are cherished, you have value to give. Yeah. The next thing to do is that don't feel under pressure to want to show up as something. Yeah. You can show up by just sharing your learning experience that, today I am trying to, my goal is to do X, Y, Z, 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 Z. And to do this, I'm going to take a journey to learn ABCD. And then you just show up today and say, oh, today I learned this and this and this and this. And these are my thoughts. And I'm open for opportunities on this and this and this. That's the way to show up. Like I had a friend, Rahila, who was taking a course in product management. And every day she showed up to share about what she learned. I think it was over 70 days, every single day on LinkedIn. So after learning, she would just say, oh, today I learned about this. You see that, yeah? She's not trying to say that she is the alpha and omega of product management. She was just saying that I'm learning, I'm in the process, yeah? So within the context of fake it, as make it, the good part of it that I'll touch on is you can show up as someone that is in the process and don't be ashamed of showing up as that. For me, a good example of someone like that is Oladotun Ajayi.
Yeah.
You know him? Has he been here?
Him. No.
You should get him here sometimes. He's not in a good show again, but you should get him here. He started showing up online as a student nurse.
Yes.
Yeah, and just sharing his story, and then he resonated with other people. Yeah, and today he's able to be in that place where he's not just showing up as a newbie again, but he's also showing up in his value and he's showing up in the strength of his own voice and all of that. And he's still growing, and we're all still growing. Yeah. So just be clear about what value you want to offer, dress for it, talk for it, prepare for it, show up with that in mind. You see that, show up with that in mind, and then don't try to project yourself as what you are not. You see that, right? Take risks, take challenges.
Yeah.
For example, there have been many places I've sat down where they have asked me, do you know how to do X, Y, Z? And I've said yes, even though I didn't know jack about it. The mind is that we're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
You get the point. And that's really because we even live in a world where even if you say no, there's actually nobody that knows how to do it, because even the person who go and meet, he will still figure it out. So why not just say yes and do it and then figure it out? You get the point. Yeah. So fake it till you make it. There's the bad part of that mindset, which is just living a fake life.
Yeah.
Trying to get people to think that you're what you are not. But I'll take the good part of that context, which is not even fake it. It is intentionally living for the future you are going to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before we go, I'd like to ask you one last question. Do you think that a person can build their personal brand without external influence of any sort?
I think it's very unlikely.
Okay.
Because whether we realize it or not, we are all being influenced in one way or the other.
Okay.
You know, there's someone I follow and I admire, Myron Golden.
Okay.
Yeah. And he had this picture where he was talking and they snapped him where he did like this. Like he was talking to people and it was like he had a picture where he snapped in like this. And I think 2 years ago, I went to do a training for some folks up in Abuja. And then when I saw the pictures, I caught myself with a picture where they snapped me doing like this. And I wasn't even trying to copy him. You get the context?
Yeah.
But his person has subliminally slipped into my person.
Yeah.
No man is an island. Everybody learned from someone. You get the point? So everybody will be influenced by someone. Yeah. So I think that it's hard. It's very difficult to build a personal brand without, because someone else will be the one to show you how to get it done. You see that here. However, you can make up your mind that you are going to build and develop your authenticity. You see that here. You're going to, for example, I don't try to talk like anybody. There are people, I like the system around how they dress. I like to dress very simple. Yeah, and if I had my way, I would wear the same thing Monday to Friday. Yeah. Just because it's just stressful thinking about what to wear.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. But I'm being deliberate about also building my authenticity. Yeah. So I honor and respect deeply the people that I learn from, but I am clear and I'm sure not to want to become a clone of them. Because guess what? No true leader actually wants a clone. Every true leader wants to just point to people and see them become a better version of themselves with his inputs. You see that, yeah? So to put that in a nutshell, it's very hard to build a brand without other people's influence. In short, when you want to start building a brand, you have to start by looking at people who have gone ahead, whether it's a business or a personal, people who have gone ahead, who look like, how have they done it? How are they doing it? There are trainings that I register for, not because I don't have, not because I don't have that knowledge, because I just want to see how people are doing that stuff at a level. Because guess what? Sometimes the knowledge that makes a difference is the 10% that they are doing that you're not doing. So we can pay for an entire course because we just want to learn that from the beginning of the course, everything they are saying, maybe we already know. But there's a 10% or 20%, you follow the Pareto's principle, that makes them masters. That's the 20% that makes us go and learn from them. So there will be nothing that every other person is doing. It's very difficult to build a personal brand. Everybody learns from someone. You have to submit yourself to learn from people while you protect and develop your own personal authenticity.
You must be ready to learn from everywhere.
Definitely.
That's very valid. So do you have any final words for our people before we go?
Final words. Nigeria needs help.
Okay.
And have you seen the movie The Men Who Built America?
No.
It's a personal recommendation, guys. Have you seen it? The Men Who Built America. How Nigeria is going to become great would be because Nigerians decide to become great. And what that would mean is that as young people, we need to quit playing and focus on what is important and create real value that solves real problems. This morning, I went to see a young man I've been privileged to mentor a 20-something-year-old young man who is purchasing lands in their acres and is sinking a factory there here in Ogbomoso. Yeah, creating value. Young 20-something-year-old man already creating jobs, thinking strategically. Now, what will happen is that is one young man doing his. It may not look like he's helping Nigeria actively today, but because he's creating value that is solving a problem that is going to help people, what is in that he's being a part of the solution, not a part of the problem. So my desire would be that because branding is all about what people know you for, is that we build brands that are value-based. Value-based in that it solves real problem, and value-based in that is built on strong values of nobility. That is really how, I mean, I'll say this last example and that will be all. I saw a video, Tunde Onokoya of Chess in Slum. He was at Harvard, and I saw a white man coming to give him a very unique chess gift, and the white man was awestruck. Now, you have to realize, put that in context. Imagine that the black man was considered less for a lot of years, and we had the slave trade. But this was a black man who had done something so profound, and it was in a white man's country, and a white man was feeling awestruck, starstruck rather, standing in front of a black man. Is because this man had paid his dues. He had created real value to be known for something. You see that. And whether you like it or not, when people see him, what they see is not just Tunde Onokoya. What they see is a proud Nigerian.
Yes.
You see that here.
Absolutely.
So my desire would really be for us to be true people that build real value-based brands. Value as in value that solves real problem, and value as in values that are in line with nobility, values of integrity, values of excellence, values of hard work. And that will accumulate over time to help Nigeria become a better place.
Thank you very much. We're very happy to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me around.
This episode has been so insightful, and I would like you to drop a comment in the comment section. Let's know what you think. Like this video, subscribe to this channel for more videos like this, and share to someone who you think needs to see this. I will see you on the next episode of LR Talks. I remain your host, Jade. Bye.